Hello and welcome to Elisabeth Hogarth's Designs. I've had a great crafting week. I have been decluttering my room and I also took delivery of these beautiful Spellbinders Betterpress plates. I have a selection of the Every Occasion Alphabet, and I've made a few cards for myself and a few cards for my daughters. So let me show you how I made them. First of all, here are the products themselves. So these are some of the letters that I've bought. Obviously I've got the E for Elisabeth, and here I've used it on craft card with white ink. The letters themselves, they are bigger than you see on the packaging, so that if you measure them with a ruler, they measure round about 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches, so that in metric is about 4 centimeters in width and round about 7 centimeters in length. Within each plate pack you've got the larger letter and then the smaller sentiment that relates to the occasion. So I picked a selection mainly based on the letters of the initials of my children. So this is for Olivia. They've got double-barreled names, and then later on I'll make a card for Claudette. I've used the Archival Brilliance, the Moonstone ink, and alongside it I've used these very popular Spellbinders dies called the notched corner frames. I've got a Craft Consortium die as well, which is useful for the larger card. So today I'm going to make a card for Claudie. I'm going to use the VersaFine Clair inks, so I'm using the Bluebell and the Warm Breeze because this combination will work well and you'll be able to see the images clearly on the camera. I'm using the Betterpress plate. You've seen the way that I work with this, so I'll link you to my previous videos. But these particular plates, you work with lining up the larger capital letter first, and the images on the packaging will help you with this. And then the smaller sentiment links into the larger plate. So on some of them there is a little notch, and others you can line up, but if you look clearly at the packaging it will show you how to do that. Here's the notch, and that sits over the top of the letter C. So I'm going to ink up carefully using the VersaFine Clair. I'm going to try a two-tone effect, and I'm using some pincers just to keep the plate straight. This is only happening because I'm using the larger inks, but it's really not a problem to keep lining them up. The Betterpress inks are smaller, so you probably won't get this, but I don't have a problem with relining up the plates. So I'm using standard white smooth card. This is almost like my tester to see whether it's going to work. Because it's slimmer card, I'm adding a couple of shims, so I'm going to run it through and then you'll see just how beautiful the initial plate is. So here's the big reveal, and you can see you've got a perfect image straight away. Really beautiful. You can do the same thing by using the capital letters by themselves. So it's the same technique, but this time I'm taking the outline of the C, the H and the B, and I'm going to line them up on the plate. I'm using the larger rectangle because the card will be bigger, and you'll notice that the letters go back to front. The larger floral element goes to the right of the letter. So line them up as well as you can using the grid lines. Then bring the ink back in ink up the letters, and then we're going to run it through the machine again. Being able to separate the capital letter from the sentiment makes these products really very versatile. So you can imagine that you could use these on the front page of a journal, or if you're writing a letter. It's rather like the old-fashioned calligraphy, and I think this is why these types of products are really so appealing. I wanted to blend the letters a little bit, so you do see me using a small roller every now and then, but I do need to double check that there's enough ink on the plate. So this time I'm going to bring in a bigger piece of card, and I decided to use the watercolour cardstock that I use for everyday inking. I had a leftover pad of Bockingford card, but you can use any watercolour card. It's of a very high quality. I don't have any of the Betterpress card in this size, so the Bockingford works for me, and you get some really nice effects. So all I'm going to do is run through this plate very, very slowly. You want the chase and the platen to kiss one another, so take your time with this part, and once again you will get fantastic results. You can see just how deep the letters are, and it's a really, really beautiful design. I'm very much liking working with these. The Betterpress has been a real revelation for me and my crafting. I'm giving the plates a quick clean with a damp cloth. I'm only using VersaFine Clair, so it doesn't take much to take off the surface, but you do want to go back over and clean these more carefully. So look after your tools and you'll get fantastic results every time. So now that we have got the prints in place, I'm going to move on and use the dies to cut the card base itself and the main mat. I'm using the second to largest die, and I'm going to use it to frame the letter. I use some removable tape just to hold the frame in place, and then I'm going to cut this away using my die cutting machine. I use an extra piece of paper just to protect the card from the plate of the die cutting machine. It's not strictly necessary, but it does keep everything clean. So there you've got the topper for the card, and then I'm going to go back in again with the larger die and cut myself the card base. So I'm going to fold over a piece of card. I'm going to put the die slightly over the fold line, and then I'm going to run it through the machine a couple of times, purely because I'm cutting through two thicknesses of cardstock. And then this will be ready to mat and layer and create the card itself. So we've got a mat that we're going to adhere to the folded card, and this will create the base. And then I'm going to add foam tape to the topper and line the topper itself with a thick blue pen, just to give the illusion that I've got another mat and layer. So I use the pen in one direction first, and then I go back round again to do the smaller elements. You get a neater finish that way. And then I'm going to remove the foam tape and adhere that to the card itself. You can well imagine being able to make these personalised cards for special occasions. You could also incorporate them for invitations, There's a whole plethora of things. You could use them on wedding tables. It really is up to you. I think it's a fabulous way to batch make a set of really classy cards or tags. So I'm adding a personalised sentiment from the Tim Holtz range, and then I can't really resist adding some complementary sequins in shades of blue. Cards don't have to be difficult to be effective, and when you've got tools like the Betterpress, you can't really go wrong. So here you have the first card. It's a very classy card, and now I'm just going to quickly finish off the second card. The die frame is already cut, and it's just a matter again of layering it up, and this time I'm going to use craft card. I'm using the precision tool to add a small amount of glue, and then the frame is going to go over the top of the Bockingford. I use a large stamping platform to keep it in place, and then I'm adding foam tape to the back and securing it onto the card base. The Bockingford card is more fibrous than the standard card, which is why I'm adding slightly more glue and taking time for the frame itself to dry. I'm picking a personalised sentiment for Claudie, and again I'm going to bring in a selection of sequins to adhere to the front in a wonky kind of triangle, just to add a touch of glamour to the finished cards. I'm really pleased with the quality of the Betterpress plates and how these cards have turned out. Here we have the selection of cards that I've made today. So we've got the white ink on craft, which is a personal favourite for sure, and I've also got Claudie's card with the blue on the Bockingford. Also this week I made a few more cards using the beautiful Harlequin flowers and the ombre papers that are coming out soon. I'm having great fun with my crafting at the moment. I've got more videos coming up, so I hope that you will subscribe to my channel and come back and join me at Elisabeth Hogarth Designs very soon. Take care, bye bye for now.